Are you looking for a life of freedom and flexibility? Do you want to have as much success with your family as you do in business? Here at the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast, we break down the barriers and bust the myths that are keeping you from living your best life. You deserve a thriving family, rich faith, and business success. Visit us at efmlife.com to connect. And now, welcome to the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast.
Your ideal life. What's it look like? Do you have an exact picture of when you feel like, I have arrived. This is success. We're here to tell you that your ideal life is a moving target. Success, change, progress, growth, it's all got to be there. Now, it's good to name and claim some things you want and the way you want to design your life, but you have to remember that you're going to continue to grow and you're going to continue to explore and expand your way of thinking, what life could look like for your career, for your marriage, your family. And so today we just want to talk about and unpack these ideas that your life is a moving target. Success is moving. Jamie, Michael, let's dive in and talk about this fun topic.
I love this topic, Chris. I just remember back, I still think like this actually sometimes. When this thing happens, I'm going to be so happy for a marriage, for a business launch, for maybe having a baby. And I know Michael McGreevy is about to be a father here, and I know what he's thinking. The passion is going to flow as soon as Lydia has that healthy baby boy, and we all get to find out what the name of the baby is going to be, right?
Something's going to flow. That's why we have diapers.
So you're going to tell us, Michael, you're going to tell us what the baby's name's going to be?
Heck no, man. I'm not giving that up. That's between me and my wife right now.
Oh, that's an awesome surprise.
Yeah, we've actually printed it on his chair too, which is hidden in the house right now.
I was going to break in and try to see it.
But I will say this. I don't know anyone that has this name. So it's a little bit out there. People thought Gunner was out there, but this one.
Is it a name or is it like a symbol? It's going to be like a cloak and dagger sort of like sign or something you're going to hang on the wall?
I guess you'll just have to be patient and wait.
Okay.
Yeah, we are so pumped though. And no, I don't think I'm disillusioned about this one. I don't think this is going to make my life easier. That's for sure.
Oh, come on. This is like you've hit 3 kids. You'll have arrived, right? You will conquer parenting.
Yeah, Chris, if that's the way you felt, you wouldn't have 4 kids right now.
Exactly. There's always progress and growth, even in parenting, right?
Especially in parenting. Oh, my gosh.
No doubt. But yeah, wow, this thing is a crooked path, isn't it? It's not so cut and dry that you find your passion and you sit in that groove for the next 30, 40 years. It is for sure a journey for all of us. I know for me, there's a lot that needed to happen even before I could be positioned in the right way to pursue what I thought was my passion. I remember a time when I was working for this company selling oil and gas contracts. I sold this $1.2 million deal with McDonald's.
That's awesome. A lot of hamburgers.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of hamburgers, right? My commission check was north of $30,000 for that.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. So I was pretty excited. The check didn't come in yet, so I was living off my credit card at the time. I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna come in. It's gonna be awesome. Here's the problem. Somebody in the company who was ahead of me took that money for themselves and then disappeared. So here I am in my 20s with about $30K in credit card debt and stuck, basically broke. I needed to get my crap together before I could even think about what I wanted to be passionate about. I needed to get to work and get myself out of debt.
Well, weren't you passionate about finding that guy and choking him?
Oh, man. Believe me. If I run into him, I'm really going to need your support and reminder that I'm a Christian and I should treat people Well,
10 commandments, thou shalt not kill.
oh, right. I forget that one on that day. Yeah, but that started my journey of figuring out how to just get out of this hole and get some of the things in my life that were not right in order. I mean, I was single at the time. I wanted to get married, and girls don't want to be with no scrub, in debt with no job. So sometimes I think you have to focus in on these big gap areas that you have and develop those before you can think about chasing that ever elusive passion.
So that's a good point you bring up, because there are going to be gaps in this road to success, right? There's going to be potholes that we have to maneuver. In fact, I think someone said that the road to success is always under construction. And so, Michael, talk about that, because were you at this point where you had the gap, you probably had a little bit of ideas of some passion, but what did that interim look like for you?
It was crooked and messed up and confusing, and I didn't move right into a solution after that. For a while I was selling infrared heaters to hardware stores, and then after that I worked for a nonprofit teaching construction skills to at-risk youth, and I got laid off from that job, and I was working on my house at the time, unemployed, and somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, do you do work for other people?" And since I didn't have a job, I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And
don't have my card on me right now, but hang on.
I ran out.
Yeah, my tools are in the back. So anyway, I got hired to paint my neighbor's house. And when I was painting my neighbor's house, another neighbor came up and said, "Hey, can you paint my house?" And that went on for about 3 years until I step by step dug myself out of debt. And
That's a huge house. It took 3 years to paint the house.
Yeah, it was like 380 million square feet. No.
Oh, I get it. So you meant like every house that you painted, somebody else came up to you and said, "Can you paint mine?" And then you went to another house and did it, right?
Well, kind of. It evolved into many other services that we offered and ended up into a full-scale remodeling business, which then allowed me to pay off all that debt that I had accrued and also really get some other things in order too, some savings and so I really needed to focus on just getting my stuff together and getting in some good rhythms of life before I could even think about chasing my passion.
That's a great example of praying with your legs, because you could have just sat there in your home unemployed and said, "Lord, I'm $30,000 in debt. I need help."
Yeah.
But you were outside working, and people found value in what you were doing, and then you offered that value and you continue that on. I mean, you dug yourself out of debt. It didn't just happen for you. There wasn't just a backhoe that came and did it for you.
Yeah. Although that was, now that you mention it was a tremendous gift that somebody did approach me and ask for me to do work for them, which led to all these other things. So yeah, certainly God gives us these little ropes to pull ourselves forward with, but we gotta pull ourselves forward and act on these gifts and these open doors that he provides.
Yeah, sometimes the crap in our lives, if we look at it a certain way, it can become the fertilizer to our growth.
Hey, that's cool.
I mean,
I'm going to tweet that right now.
Yeah, my story is very similar. That me and Ruthie were working teaching jobs, and we had a passion to get out of the hole that we were in, and so we weren't necessarily running towards our passion. We were running out of our debt, and very similar to Michael, we started figuring out that profits are better than wages, and so we started doing all these little side businesses, and the entrepreneurial spirit kind of grew out of that, just like Michael's story. But it is definitely a crooked path, and you just try things, and you're very creative. It's like that expression that necessity is the mother of invention. It's like we were doing everything we could to get out of nearly $90,000 in debt.
Man, you can't just breeze by that stuff. Like some of these things you did, I don't know how you came up with this stuff. What gave you the stones to try it? Like, can you talk about some of the business?
Yeah, man. What'd you do?
I tutored students at the middle school. I had a gardening business that we did garden work for little old ladies in the Parkside neighborhood in Buffalo. We were selling books on Amazon. I was buying Persian rugs on eBay and selling them on Craigslist. That's a really cool story. Sometime I'll share it, but I'll share this first. But I bought these Persian rugs on eBay and I listed them on Craigslist. The first guy drove from Toronto, Ontario to Buffalo, and he thought he was getting such a good deal that he actually burned rubber out of my driveway. I bought the rug for $350 on eBay and I sold it for $1,100 on Craigslist. And this guy thought he was scamming us. So that was like me and Ruthie were giving ourselves high fives and sent that money to our credit card, paid it off. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, one of our mentors has said that you can't steer a parked car. You guys both were great examples to that because you just activated ideas and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to go try this. I'm going to try this. And you're going to move and you're going to do stuff. And like you chipped away at that debt. You chipped away at the idea of what success was at that point.
And I think the common denominator was that we had a passion to get unstuck of all these burdens, all these financial burdens that were keeping us from doing things and having options in our life. So it was that freedom passion. It wasn't like one day I'm going to show up on the mountain and life is going to be perfect. Let's just get rid of this thing that we know we don't want in our life. So I think that's a really good place to start. A lot of times that stuff kind of piles up, and the best way to get rid of it is just to aggressively sort of attack it and use that passion as fuel to get a little angry or frustrated so that you can have a better life for yourself.
Yeah, that's great, man. Make getting out from under a pile of debt your passion. Sometimes that has to be your passion for a season. And you can have a lot of fun doing that. You can get creative, especially if you're on the same page with your wife like you and Ruthie were.
Yeah.
Chris, talk about your journey a little bit. It's not as crazy as us derelicts from Buffalo.
I was still crooked. When I jumped ship from my first career in politics, I had really landed on after some time of mentorship from some guys I respected, landed on, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. That's what I'm going to do. This is going to make life so easy. I'm going to be successful and whatever. And fortunately, starting my first online travel company, Mission Travel, it was fairly easy. And I just worked hard, right? But I realized, okay, after several years, I've built this thing up. I'm this kind of a solopreneur. I had a couple, independent contractors here and there, but I quickly realized all I did was just create a job for myself. This wasn't really a business. If I wasn't working, I wasn't getting paid. And it was kind of at that time where I realized, okay, if I want to really make this a business and scale and have other people involved and get some good systems in place, I need to really grow. And so, yeah, financially, it might have been doing fine, but I think there were a couple things. I read The E-Myth, which is a great book that anyone should read if you're even remotely considering business. And then I think I took a DISC assessment too, just about my own strengths. And I quickly realized, like, wow, okay, I'm sort of bent to be a leader and this executive, personality. But yet I'm still kind of the technician of my business. And if I'm going to get out and lead, I've got to put several things in place to put some systems down and people that I can bring on and hire. And that was a process too, man. That was not overnight. I mean, still we're working on how to grow, how to scale more. But, it took a while to, again, that path was under construction, still is.
Yeah, but Chris, I love that you were in a role in a business that you created and you had the awareness to realize that, wow, like I am built for managing a team and running a team and I don't have a team around me. And so then you intentionally created a team. So it wasn't like you were chasing your passion, you were chasing or you're building something that fit who you were, which then made you a more passionate guy. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta embrace that. That's part of this whole journey that we're talking about, right? Again, this is, and just even a point here. This success is not a destination; it's a journey, and it's just like the journey we talked about. And it's a journey of self-awareness too. That as you get to these points, right? Jamie and Michael, when you guys both got out of debt, there's probably a point there where you're like, oh, if I could just get out of debt, I'll be happy, I'll be content, or whatever. Was that the case? What happened?
It was for me for about 2 weeks. No, I remember me and Ruthie paid off our debt, and we went to Dave Ramsey's office and we screamed at the top of our lungs and we celebrated. But we kind of had that feeling of what is going to be next. It's going to be exciting. And then I love that quote Brian Tracy says, success leads tracks. You look at, it's like now you have the ability to lean into things because you have options instead of all the pain and you're not necessarily working just to pay for all your mistakes. And so at that point, we started to look at, we kind of moved out of satisfying our bills and saying, what do we really want to do when we grow up? And I think that's a big point in this discussion of your calling and passion, is that we were given permission to kind of lean into things that we liked because we did the hard work. And it wasn't just survival anymore. We were kind of moving out of survival into a little bit of growth. Michael, the same thing happened with you.
Yeah, it's funny. You think that I always held out this next step in my life, this major milestone, as the thing that's going to then make me satisfied and happy with my life. But then you reach it and you realize there's an even bigger one waiting for you after that. Just because you're out of debt doesn't mean you have any savings or any security built up. Then it becomes this game of, oh, how can I make myself feel safe financially? And then you keep working toward that. And for those of you that are single, like, if I could just find the right woman, then I would be happy. Well, then you find that woman, and yeah, she might make you happy, but it's not going to be enough. So these milestones that are ahead of you are not a destination. They're just steps on this journey of life. And guess what? The whole journey is like that. There is no place where we can land and camp out and say, yes, we're here. Let's stay here and live it out here. This is awesome.
I remember you actually wrote like a song back in the day about like the woman you're going to marry.
You remember that?
Your ideal marriage.
Can you do me a huge favor and grab your guitar in the closet and sing that for us right now?
I think the guitar is locked. Yeah. I will say I wrote a song about that dynamic of thinking that, like, all right, I don't need much. I just need a good woman. We can have coffee together and talk and just enjoy life together, and that'll be it. That'll be everything my heart has desired. And my wife is all that. But
that's so sweet.
It's not my only purpose on this earth.
This reminds me, just in terms of coming out of debt or finding your spouse. There's always going to be this growth and progress, right? Mm-hmm. You guys ever heard of the story? I think it was John Elway when he first won. Like he was a great quarterback growing up, all this stuff. When he first won his first Super Bowl, there was that fleeting confetti and trophy and everything that night. He talks about how he goes back to his hotel room and he's as depressed as can be, and he orders like pizza and beer in his bed by himself because he's just like, oh man, I thought that this was it. This was going to bring me happiness and contentment. And I guess that's the thing too, is we're talking about this. I'm realizing, you have to be content as you go along, but never be complacent. You can't be complacent with the level of success or degrees of success along the way in these areas of your life.
Yes. And then that whole idea that I've heard that said before, right? Like, if only I get that position, then I'll pour it on and I'll have all that joy. But I think it's the opposite, right? Like, if you pour it on and have all that joy, then there's going to be an opportunity coming that's better. So John Elway, he should have been like clicking his heels and celebrating and shaking up bottles of champagne. Like we won like the NFC West or whatever. It's like, in his heart, he was never satisfied until he got that one thing and then it didn't come. If he would have celebrated all those little milestones with his team and the people that he loved, it would have felt amazing when he won that first Super Bowl.
Yeah. If only there was a Galaxy Bowl, then he could have potentially won that too. But man, the only conclusion you can come to is that the thing that you achieve, accomplish, or get is not what it's all about, right? How could it be? Anyone that reaches those milestones does not say, yes, I'm here. I got it. I feel great.
So what's it all about? Let's hear that.
More. The journey.
It's the journey, right? It's like we talked about up front. Your ideal life is a moving target and you're flowing. And this is part of it too, as we talk about, success is not a destination, it's the journey. As you continue in this path of success in areas of your life, hopefully it's because you're putting things into your mind. You're taking in great wisdom and knowledge that's going to further you along. That's going to create a greater longing for growth and for progress. We talk about that image of the river. There's an inlet, there's a source for the river, there's a place for that river to flow. That's what you want to be like versus the pond, where you might have a trickle of inflow, but you're just going to create a bunch of pond scum if there's nothing to do, nowhere for that pond to go.
Mm-hmm. Start smelling bad.
Man, I don't want pond scum in my life.
Me neither. I want the flow, Chris.
Let's get the flow. That's right.
To me, that if we can grasp this idea and live in that, it just seems so much more joy throughout it's so much easier to kind of have mercy on ourselves that we are on a journey, we're going someplace, and that our calling and this passion isn't some elusive thing that one day we're going to arrive and it's going to be fireworks go off or something. To me, that's freeing. I don't know about you guys. That makes it sort of lowers the pressure, and I want to be more engaged, and I want to have more passion towards the things that I'm moving towards.
Yeah, I think the fireworks show comes when they put the last shovelful on you, right?
Right.
So we're kind of debunking this myth a little bit that you've got to find your calling first, right? And then you go do it. I mean, I think what I'm kind of hearing from all of us is we're just doing it. Like sometimes you just have to pick up the shovel. You've got to go, you've got to move, you've got to create. And then as you create, because our creator created us as creators, that's a lot of creation words in one sentence.
Yeah.
But you're going to continue to progress in that. You're going to continue to walk in purpose, walk in the ways that you want to grow into.
Chris McCluskey, who's one of our mentors, he says it like this: we've all been given a light, and you can walk with the light that you've been given today, this week. You don't necessarily need to know the grand picture. Just stinking walk. Just start taking your light and move.
Yeah. Well, it's so easy to hold up your passion or your calling as the destination, as this thing that will alleviate so many pains that you experience in your life, or financial issues that you have, or relationship problems that you have, or this lack of joy that you might be experiencing. But it is not there to alleviate all those things. It is a pursuit. You can start to look at those different areas of your life right now in this season, no matter what you're doing. Don't think that your calling is going to fix your life.
Well said.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, there's a pastor friend of mine here in town who says, we have the faith. God calls us to have the faith to move mountains, but sometimes he gives us a shovel to move that mountain. To move, right? And so I think, as we talk about this journey, maybe we'll start to land the plane on this particular journey of this episode. But our challenge to you is really think about, what is it that you want to aspire to? What are some of these goals, part of the journey? What kind of journey do you even want? One thing that Jamie and Michael and I have done is, as we've gone through a book called The 12-Week Year together, is part of the foundation of that book was creating this aspirational vision for your life. What do you want your life to look like in many areas? Your business, your career, your marriage, with your kids, your health, your spiritual and relational, and there's so many things there. But I challenge you, really take a moment to put some pen to paper on what you want your life to look like in those areas. And there's a lot of assessments out there, and we're going to point you to one that we know of, that we helped create. Go visit our website at efmlife.com. There's a very simple assessment on where you are, in particular with your enterprise, your business, with your marriage, and with your family. And just start thinking through some of these questions. We'll be happy to follow up with you and talk with you more about that. But, what are you neglecting in your life right now that could be holding you back from your passion?
Thank you for listening to the Entrepreneurial Family Man Podcast. Visit efmlife.com to connect with us and others like you who are pursuing success in enterprise, family, and marriage.